Welcome to Cheery Conversations, where we all overcome our uncertainties on juicy topics, one conversation at a time. Each week, we'll be joined by author, speaker, and pastor Sonny, Hennessy, and a special guest. This week, our guest is Erin Hanson. Erin and her husband, Adam, have been married for 15 years. She is mom to Lucy, Ruby, and June. Erin gets to have her career in a field she is passionate about as a highly sought-after photographer and owns her own business, Erin Jean Photography. She was featured in our winter 2019 Life and Culture magazine. On today's episode, we'll be talking to Sonny and Erin about the ever-changing parenting relationship. Erin, you have some kids in a few different stages, but it's your oldest that you have some questions like, what's next?
Yes, so we have three girls. They are 3, 10, and almost 12. So 6th grade this year.
Big year.
Yes, and I guess our oldest is where we're most focused for right now in struggling with friendships and relationships and the school world of that socialness, and just obviously changing and all the things that happened in middle school. So I guess coming from your kids being in high school, what were things that you wished people would have told you going into that?
I wish more would have told me that they all thought about homeschooling.
Yeah, I did say that. On the way here, try homeschool.
I know. I homeschooled multiple times, like throughout the years. I did. I homeschooled Aubrey like 2nd grade, Aubrey and Isaiah like when they were both 3rd and 4th grade. I homeschooled Aubrey again last year, her 8th grade year, but then I would send them back to school because I'm not good at homeschooling. Right. And I know that's not an excuse. Yeah. And that's why I kept doing it, because I'm like, well, this isn't about me. This is what's best for my kids. And like, I just never felt called to be a teacher. I felt called to be a mom, but not the teacher mom. So I think if I knew that is very normal to think I have to bring my kids back, protect them, save them, fix the situation, and I will think about homeschooling and not think that maybe that was God saying homeschool every time. I think probably one of the 3 times God said homeschool. Yeah. The other 2, I was just like, this is unacceptable, how kids treat each other. Girls are super hard. And it's almost like kids lose the innocence of some things. And then they have no self-awareness on the other. So you couple those, it's like they merge in 6th grade. Like they don't have a filter like a kid. Right. But then they don't have self-awareness like an adult. So they just say everything that comes to mind. And unfortunately, I know you said public school, but also we've done Christian school and Catholic school. And even in those schools, what we found out is what's happening in the home is how those kids talk to one another at school. So if mom and dad sit around the table and they talk bad about the principal, the teacher, the boss, kids go to school and they don't think anything of talking bad about people, but they say it right to their face. Right. You know, adults are better at gossiping behind people's back, you know, which is terrible in itself. So I think to know that that is common, one, you don't get in freak out mode. Yeah. And you can kind of sit on it, pray on it. What I think I would have done more is I think I would have encouraged Aubrey to have, and even Isaiah, to have Jesus friends. And maybe I would have set up at 6th grade and even 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, you're setting up play dates as much as they are, and you're coordinating that. I probably would have done that because now in high school, they want to choose their own friends entirely. And I wish that they would have had more core Jesus kids that had grown up with them through elementary. So that's probably the biggest thing I would do versus running to homeschooling.
Yeah, and I think we do that. We have definitely like all the girls have like their core Jesus friends, but they're not classmates. At school. So there's like a separation there that makes it more difficult, where I think our oldest is just not thriving in that. Which I don't know that any middle schooler thrives. It's just...
Well, and I think for girls, and I'd say this for us women, like when we know we're not alone, that's a big step in helping. And so I think for your daughter to know that you've talked to other moms and they've got girls her age, and that all these moms say this is such a hard year. We have someone that works for us that used to be a 5th grade teacher, and she said 5th grade and 6th grade, she said it just begins to get hard. And she said that those are crucial, critical, hard years. I think the knowledge of that, so your daughter doesn't start to say, what's wrong with me? And why can't I do this? And everybody else seems fine. not everybody else is fine. Now, I can't speak only to your situation, but I do think when home is safe and you have a Jesus home, then that sets her up for life too. Like now I've thought about Aubrey should just be homeschooled again freshman year. And I'm like, Sonny, this is a cycle. Like you're just you can't in college say come home and homeschool.
Yeah, you can. But
Yeah, I guess you can. We're gonna homeschool college now too. Like just say, so I know that that's a cycle for me, but what I have started to learn is that if Aubrey knows the safe places at home, and that's because of Jesus, that sets us up for a pattern of, I'm here, like I'm an adult and I'm at work. And I need to be a light and I need to, but I can't let how people talk, what they say, just tear me down, because I've learned that Jesus is the safe place. My home growing up was a safe place. So I want that for the rest of my life. And I'd rather my kids come home and be shocked at the world than be just desensitized by the world, which can also happen.
So with that, so a new thing obviously with this generation that we did not have is she just got her first cell phone because she is babysitting. So her younger siblings. So that's been something for us, is like home is safe. Home is the safe place, but it's not as safe as when I would get home at that age, because there's still access to the world. It's not the same. So yes, we have boundaries and like she can't have it in her room at night, but like what were things, I guess, with that? Because that's been a big like question mark, because we didn't live through that when we were in middle school, to like boundaries or rules that you wish would have been in place regarding that. Because yes, home is safe, but it's a different world where there's so much coming in even at home.
Our kids hated this, and she'll hate this because she'll say everybody else gets to, but our kids were late to get phones compared to their friends, but they got them. And I'd still be happy if they never had them. Like I'd be happy if right now at 15 and 16 they didn't have them. They would really be the only one, you know. Snapchat, we were late to let them add it, and again, I wish they didn't have Snapchat. But we are trying to give the leash and then have them fail with that leash, and it's been taken away. Our kids have had their phone taken away, and that's the grounding that is the most effective. But apps, like the ones they have, it's kind of like, look, when you can be trusted with this, then next year it's like, I think rather than here you're 9, have it in any app you want. Like, why do that? Why not build this trust? They go, oh, you trust me, then I want to keep that trust. Here's another app, they fail, they abuse it, and you say you got to take that off. So Snapchat and Visco is a new thing that is where people don't like or comment. You just post pictures and you put your link within Instagram, and Instagram's a big deal. Like Visco just happened and I didn't know about it. And it's where parents don't see it as much because they don't know about it. So it's usually the girls post themselves in bikinis, and it's 6th grade. They're already having the pressure, like, you need to post yourself in a bikini. And so I think saying you're not gonna have a passcode on your phone. If you do, I will know it, and if you change it, you'll lose your phone, like for a week. You're not gonna have Snapchat. If it's uploaded, if I see you have it, then you're gonna lose your phone for a week, and then, repeated offenses. Aubrey got up to a month grounding from her phone, and then something happened and she lost it for 2 months. And frankly, the detoxification of my daughter, I love her more right now. She is so like, just the purity has come back in her eyes, even because what you see. Instagram, you just click on the little hourglass and it's explore, and I mean that's anything. So at first we were like, Isaiah and Aubrey, don't click that. Well, that's like Satan said, oh, just this tree, and then that's the apple they wanted, so that's a bummer, because all it was a click, and they could go, what are mom and dad talking about? So I think it's giving a little rope at a time, and they know then this can be taken away. And by 18 you probably will have all the apps, but you'll be wise enough that you won't abuse the apps.
I love those questions. I love questions, and especially when they're asked in a safe place, because you can learn so much more because you're willing to ask bigger and deeper questions. We're gonna take a quick break and watch a promo on Alpha, which is another safe place where you can ask big life questions.
For so many of us, our religion is just something we do, religiously. Our faith isn't something we live out. It's more like a place we just visit on Sundays. The truth is, our faith was never meant to be something we keep in a box or visit sometimes or avoid talking about at dinner parties. Our faith was meant to be something that gives us joy. This faith of ours isn't a weekly destination or a checkbox. It's a relationship that takes work. The pursuit of finding and growing more meaning and purpose in our faith, that's discipleship. And the Alpha course is our discipleship track. Over the course of 10 weeks or so, we'll meet on Monday nights to dig deeper together. If you're ready to be more than a spectator and ready to grow your faith in 2020, let me encourage you to join us on Alpha. We begin Monday, February 3rd at 6 o'clock p.m. We'll have dinner, we'll watch a talk, and then we'll work it out together. You can register online or at the Welcome Center. I really hope to see you there.
Welcome back. We're here with Sonny and Erin, and we're talking about all things parenting. So right now, I want to ask this question. We talked about rules a little bit earlier. How do your kids know what the rules are? Like, how do you set them up for the rules, and how do they know what they are and what the consequences will be?
I think that's a huge parenting mistake I've made, is not establishing expectations, thinking because now they're 12 or 13, they'll understand with, I just gave you this phone, or I just gave you the chance to go to a boy-girl bowling alley party, that they'll know what the rules are. Like, well, you know better. You were raised in a Jesus home, and that's a problem when you don't. So we implemented family meeting in the living room, which is separate than other places. Most of the time, the kitchen or dining room table, they have their own type of discussion, and we want the dining room table to be a place where it's never tense. It's because we have very few meals around the table. That's a fight that I fight for. But when I get that, then I want it to be calm and peaceful. So we have used and it's actually our formal living room, so not our family room, where it's like, hey, family meeting. Now, they hate it if we do it too much. Yeah. But typically, we also use it to go, hey, we're gonna go on a cruise. Okay. And we announce in the room at the family meeting something good. Okay. We do in the formal living room, Aubrey reads the Christmas story as we prepare to open gifts. So it's a good place, not just a bad place, but it's okay, seriously, like everybody's facing each other focused and they know it's serious. And honestly, as I say that, I go, yeah, we're probably due for one. Like, okay, if you get to someone's house that you thought you were going over to a bunch of guys' house to play video games and 2 girls are there, what is the rule? Like, if all the guys go up to the boy's bedroom, do you all and the girl go up to the bedroom? Well, I would just go, well, Isaiah knows better. But like, have we said, you know, at this point at 16, I probably wouldn't say, you better call us and we'll come get you, because I did that when he was 14 and 15. He got in trouble if there was a mixed crowd. So I think it's a good question, because I think a good answer is realizing that you're in a next phase and you're in 3 seasons with 3 kids. So that's 3 different sets of rules.
Right. So do you do it individually? Like, do you have that conversation with just him and then with just her? Or is it like everybody has the same set?
I don't know if your kids are this way, but Isaiah, and he's the oldest, and he's a boy, but he totally tries to parent Aubrey, and always has. Yeah. He's defending, he's protecting, or he's parenting. Yeah. So for accountability, I think they all need to be in the room. Okay. I mean, a 3-year-old versus a 12, that might be a little different, but for sure, okay. Because then it's, look, this is the standard. Right. There's things that Isaiah's like, he thinks we should be harder on Aubrey. But if we sat in a room and went, these are the rules, and we're good with this, this is more rope, Isaiah's accountable to be a little giving in that mom and dad said. So I even think like employees, like when I have people who are on my team, most of the time if we're all in the same room and we hear the same thing, we all feel more confident in what is the boundary versus one-on-one side conversations.
And so do you also do that with like the punishment? Do they know, like, do you talk to them? Like, okay, so my example is, in a panic, Lucy's actually really, really a good kid, but she did something silly, and I was like, get in a timeout.
Get in a timeout.
She cried. I mean, it was like 3 hours of her lecturing me how that was not an appropriate punishment, but it just, because of the 3 levels of parenting, it just was like, came out, and then I was like, oh wow, okay. Like, and I was like, I don't even know how to punish her anymore, because she is so good that it was just, okay, we've switched. Like, this is not appropriate.
Right.
So do you talk to them about that? Like, this is what's going to happen, or is that something that just depends on what they did?
I think the cause and effect, they need to learn that, and the discipline will match the problem. Because for me to have taken Aubrey's phone for 2 months on that first offense would have been way over disciplining.
Right.
And then we wonder why our kids might sneak out or hate us, and I'm gonna show them because we over discipline. Cause and effect really takes it off of you. It's almost like you're giving your kids a HR handbook. Like, these are the guidelines, and if you do this, this happens.
Right.
I mean, that's proactive parenting, so I think that's best. I also know that when someone gets disciplined, of our 2 kids, of course they're 19 months apart, but Isaiah totally wants to know what'd you do about Aubrey? And Aubrey's like, well, what'd you do about Isaiah?
Right.
So actually to give this is what's happening together as well, that works too. Because reactive parenting is the norm. Like, I am guilty of it all the time. Like, I never knew we'd deal with this, so I react out of, this is crazy. And then I'm so mad that they would think that was acceptable, that I overreact, I over-discipline, and then I can't follow it through. Because I'm like, you're not doing anything for 2 weeks. And then I already committed, we'd go somewhere and they could spend the night somewhere, and I couldn't follow through.
Yes.
So it's proactive parenting, not reactive parenting, preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I love that.
The word rules has come up a lot in this conversation, which can be scary, like not just for our kids, but I think as parents, the word rules is scary for us because it makes us sometimes feel guilty. But one phrase I hear a lot is, you can't have rules without relationship. So talk about that. What does that mean? You need to have a relationship to make the rules work, right? How does that play out in your family?
I think rules, we don't really use the word rules in our home, but I think that's common to think of it that way. Our kids asked us, so when am I going to be able to date? And what they were asking is, what's the rule on dating? And I said, you know what? It'll all depend. I didn't want to give 16 because then they get to 16 and they want to date some crazy person. Right. And I've said the rule is 16. Right. I also didn't want to say 14 when it's the right person. So even that, like, relationship with who they're wanting to hang out with trumps the rule of at what age can you start going to the movies with people. I don't want Isaiah going to the movies at 18 years old with the wrong people, with the wrong girl. And so I think it's like we say a lot in our home, you know what, case by case, you know what, we'll talk about it. And each thing is individual. Again, we don't do that perfect, but I don't think that we've used the word rules a lot because rule does have a really bad connotation, whereas like consequence to action, those are good words to use. I was gonna ask you, Casey, because you have preteen and teen, and this can help us. Yeah. Have you noticed, do you have one or are both of them really good at negotiating? Or even making you feel guilty when you say no, because that's something that if you're not in that when she's 12, we're headed.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Do you have that?
My younger one is probably, I would consider a negotiator, and I don't even know if like he does it on purpose or if he's conscious. Like, maybe they're smart enough to know it works, but and I would say having conversations like this is why it's worth having conversations, because knowing that is maybe natural and normal in the progression of kids getting older makes me feel better. If maybe that's not great, but it does make me feel better to know, like, okay, I'm not alone. It happens in other parenting relationships. It doesn't make me a bad mom. It doesn't make me and BJ bad parents. But the conversation's good because then it helps me be aware of the what's next, which is what your question was. And so, do we have the negotiator? We do, and I know that's probably an area I just need to counter that. Like, how do I counter that? And so this conversation is great, and it makes me think that it's a conversation that we want all parents to have. Like, who is in the season ahead of you that you can ask these what next questions? So Sonny, who is that for you? Where do you get your what's next answers when it comes to parenting?
We've gone to Pastor Lori a lot because she has 3 adult kids who all turned out really well. Yeah. And I'm kind of like, you better show me the fruit. Yeah. You can say I'm a great mom, but like, how are your kids? Right. Which the flip side of that can be really hard, because then I go, when my kids screw up, that means I'm a bad mom. If my kid negotiates, no, my son can make me feel really guilty really quick. And I never saw that coming. So but that doesn't make me a bad mom. That makes him maybe a leader and a future lawyer. But yes, I do ask people who have children who the fruit is good. The kids love Jesus. Even if they had a tough spell, ultimately the foundation was there. I also think back to my Aunt Judy, and I look at how my Aunt Judy's daughter looks at her and looks to her for everything Jesus, Bible, how Jesus would act. And I don't even sometimes have to ask Aunt Judy. I would just go, how did she? I remember Aunt Judy would bring out the mixed orange and lemonade because she would cut. One of them was expensive, was like 30 cents a thing, and the other was 10 cents a tube. And so to save money, she would cut the other one with lemonade and orange juice, and she'd say, you want some juicy juice? And she would serve me up like at a bar, like at her counter. And she would do that with her daughter. So when I lived with her for a short amount of time, I realized real quick that's what she would do with her daughter and her sons, is she would come home from school with them, because she was a teacher, and it was the time to talk. Now, I don't have to ask Aunt Judy, how'd you do it? How'd you have good conversation, relationship? She served them juicy juice, and that was never empty in the fridge, because you didn't know when you needed to serve up at the bar your kids. And so Aubrey, when she will now say, can we go to Chipotle? Or yesterday we went to Bonafide because we're on the Daniel fast. And she said, can we stay? And frankly, I'm thinking I could get home by 4 o'clock, have more time to work. And I'm like, yeah, like girl time to sit and eat. And I had to tell myself, put your phone away, sit and eat. And she just told me all about everything that happened at school. And to her, it was a girl date. But to me, I saw that acted out by my aunt serving me juice after school, and I could unpack. My mom would come sit on the end of my bed and not say anything, and I could just talk. And I knew our time was mom on the end of the bed. So last night I walked into Aubrey's room and I prayed for her, kissed her. She asked for help with homework. I'm like, I looked at it, it was science and a graph, and I went, and I said, you know what? Be really, really successful someday and hire somebody to do that. And she goes, that's the worst parenting advice. I go, I know, right? Like, I hate homework. And so then I start to walk out. She goes, you could come and just sit. And we didn't do homework. We just sat. And that's from watching. So watching a mom who is doing it right or did it right.
Yeah, and that's the relationship, right? And
over the rules.
That is gonna help them understand, as much as they don't like the rules, they will understand there's a purpose, and it's because we love them and we're protecting them. So I love that. Thank you for all these really great questions on parenting. Yes, so great. We have an amazing parenting resource. It's our Parent Life Facebook group. We would love to have you join that and get some questions answered. You can pose some questions. There's some resources that are out there. We'd love for you to join that. Thank you so much for being here with us today and hearing this conversation on parenting.
And if you would like to connect with me directly or let us know what you'd like to hear, what kind of guests you'd like on Cheery Conversations, I want to hear about that. Go to sonnyhennessy.com. Let's connect directly.
Join us next week at the same time for another Cheery Conversation.